can only give what you're getting. So if you've got a communicator, unless they can tell you who they're working with, dismiss them. They can come back later. They may guide you to the person in the group, but the best thing is to do is to ignore it and not to do speculative mediumship. But what's quite important is really for you to try and help me to help others who are learning like you are, not aware as much as you. So you can ask the questions that may seem obvious. If it sounds like a silly question, it's not a silly question, because we're dealing with metaphysical energies. It's not something that we're putting a shelf up on a wall, how do we do this, how do we put the wall plugs, how do we drill the holes. It's on a different level. So it sounds silly because we were never originally trained as children in this. So the more we start to experience on this spiritual, metaphysical level, the more we'll have questions. Well, how does this work? Why does that work? We may have no questions tonight, but I'm just asking, has anybody got any questions at all?
We recently lost 3 pets in 1 week. It's always the same, isn't it? People go in 3. Why does that happen?
I wish I had an answer for why do people go in 3s, but I think we sometimes can look for it. Sometimes it does happen, and sometimes we do it by association. I don't know of any spiritual answer about why it always happens in 3s. I think we look for it. I think if we started the counter with someone else, and then it would be 3s again. But I think we've always heard of that statement, and we always look for losing people in 3s. I think it happens. It's just that we go reset the counter, and something else happens until it becomes that obvious to ourselves. If it's personal to ourselves, sometimes it may happen like that. But I'm not aware of any spiritual insight that says, we're going to lose 3 people, you're the first, there's 2 others to go. Or I'm not saying you personally, but I'm just saying in that particular thing. So I don't think it has any real bearing, apart from we recognise when someone goes and we look for 2 others to go, and then we tick it off on the sheet, so to speak. Well, that must be 3. Yeah? If you think about it and we look at the pets, if the pets were close, very much like people, when they get to sometimes a really old age, if one partner goes, they'll go within a shorter period of time, because they're willing that. And we sometimes have to remember how much control we have over our bodies with our minds. So if we get our minds in the right focus, it's not a negative aspect, it's a positive aspect. You can live to almost sort of a great age with a great focus. Obviously allowing for accidents, genetic transfer, or anything else that you've encountered that have caused an early demise maybe. So having that right particular focus is fine. And maybe what is happening is that those pets miss the others. And you've got to remember, and I'm sure you probably do, is that often those pets are seen by the other pets. When we've lost cats, the other cats are going like that, watching something walk across the room. On occasions when I visited other people's places, other people with me have noticed another cat walking out of the room. And it's not a physical cat, it's a spiritual cat. So I think animals are quite aware of other animals, and sometimes they're quite aware of spirit. So to put any correlation to your answer is, if it's a couple, sometimes they can't bear to be apart and they do switch off. And we know that often in hospitals, you know, you've got someone there and you go out for a coffee or whatever you go for, you come back and they're gone. Sometimes they find it even more difficult to go when our loved ones are close to them. It's a bigger pool. So I can't answer that question, but I think it's something we're used to saying. And I'm not asking you to reset the count, you look for the next 3, but you know what I'm saying to you. We're not willing anyone to go over, but I think that's what we've always done. It's very much like people say, oh, someone just walked over my grave. They never really understand why that's happening, but usually well, it's because the spiritual energies are moved and you get an electrical contact on a flux level, and we feel that when spirit comes close to us. So I wish I had a finite answer for that. I don't, but I think it's something we as human beings have always looked for. Any other questions at all?
You always say we should never do speculative mediumship. Can you explain that, please?
Well, speculative mediumship, as we've talked about, is working with a large group of people, and we sometimes see it with our working mediums, unfortunately. Can even take in grandmother in the world of spirit, and what happens, you get 5 or 6 people putting their hands up, or a number of people put their hands up, and you start to weaken the link. And what you do, if you have a communicator and you haven't connected with anyone, what happens? You lose them. And then you'll go to someone and they'll say, yes, I've got a grandmother in the world of spirit, we're talking about that. And then you start getting an intuitive link with that person. So you've got rid of the one in communication with the world of spirit, and you've restarted your link with someone else. So all it is a little bit, I sometimes could see people is cold reading. You know, were they being tuned in, you could say, has anyone got a grandmother in the world of spirit? Does she used to do her home cooking, her own jams and bits and pieces? I can see her with an apron. All these classic things that are said, unless you can back that up with evidence, all you're doing is just weakening the link. In fact, you're losing your communicator. So speculative mediumship, although it was taught a long time ago by different organisations, doesn't do the link any good. In fact, you lose it and you have to remake it. What happens? You lose your audience. Because if this happens, they go, oh, slow rubbish, they don't know what to do. So they all start closing down and all the energy goes flat and it's a hard job to get through. So it's best to target someone specific and not really do an area. Don't do, I've got someone over this side who's got it, because you're still doing the same sort of thing in a smaller group. So you really should, even if you're not sure if you've got a communicator, but you feel you're drawn to someone, if I'm going to go, I'd like to come to you, I haven't got any information until I connect with that person. Okay? If you've got a communicator to start, you need to decide who they belong to, not to the group of people, because it's like, who wants a grandmother? Who wants a grandfather? Well, the spirit, you know. And all you do, for anyone that comes in for the first time, it sounds like you're making it up, you're making it fit, you're asking questions, which we don't ask questions, we only give them, and we say, would you understand what they're talking about? So the speculative mediumship just doesn't make mediumship look very good in the sight of someone who's never seen it before, and also people who have seen it before. You see they switch off, you know, and for us that sit up the front and watch the faces when this happens, they go, see people going off, I don't know, or they're whispering to each other, you know. You have to aim and connect with someone. You can only give what you're getting. So if you've got a communicator, unless they can tell you who they're working with, dismiss them. They can come back later. They may guide you to the person in the group, but the best thing is to ignore it and not to do speculative mediumship, because it just weakens the link. It just makes it look a chance encounter. So that's why it just never works.
Why do spirits sometimes not volunteer who they are, you know, to where they're going, who they want to talk to?
Well, there's several variables. Some of you may be shy and not want to talk to large groups of people, and that's the way they're doing it. If it's on a one-to-one, as in a private reading, they're more likely will talk. You know, you'll talk to someone you know, but if I say to you, stand up in front of 150 people and talk about healing, which you're used to working in healing, but you might not still want to talk up to 150 people or 250 people. It wouldn't be your thing. You're okay with the church. So the long and the short of it is, the variable is you've got someone who's shy, and sometimes I know when they come through, they smile at me and they stand there and say, you're not making me look good, you're just smiling. They don't, so they can't see what I'm seeing. Talk to the person or step over. And if you were doing a television show or a radio show and you've got someone comes on, they just go, well, we'll leave you for a minute, we'll come back to someone else. You know, and it can be down to the medium. You know, if the medium is panicking and not really getting a link, they're trying to communicate with someone, and that someone can't communicate with them because they're all over the show. Maybe the communicator comes through is on a nice steady energy, but the medium's panicking. So their vibration's going up and down, and they've got to try and catch with them, stay with them. Okay? So the answer is a good medium, a good audience, as I call it, and a good communicator, and some wonderful messages come through. And you just give what you get. If you try to change it, filter it, then you'll lose the impact, because it's proof of personality survival. If they weren't an angel on the earth plane, they're not an angel up there, they're in spirit, and they'll come through not with choice language, as you'd understand, but you would say they're using that. If that was there, you would not repeat that. But it's a variable, and the variable is if the conditions are right and the people are receptive, like people in this group, then you're going to get good mediumship. It's a variable. Get it right, and it works absolutely fantastically. Good question. Anyone else? Are we all right? We all done? We're all done.